trying to understand this. I really, really am trying. Okay. Welcome all to another episode of the Jokatech podcast. I find myself a little annoyed and agitated and even having to engage in this one, but I thought I'd take a little sidestep from sports coverage and covering the arts to just get involved with this R. Kelly situation, because this is another notch in this movement that's going on, and it's getting on my last nerve. Now, you have basically, in this case, you have trials going down, you have whatever the case is, hearings, whatever it is, going down with R. Kelly. He has issues with child support, not having the funds to pay his own bail in the situation, or satisfy the bond needed to be paid in order for him to be released, et cetera, et cetera. And he's also facing a bunch of counts and charges from over a decade ago. Now, apparently 50 people came forward, 50 witnesses spoke. There's several women who say that they were victimized by him. And then you have his testimony, basically, that he did with Gail in an interview, and also the interview done by the two living girlfriends with him. Now, automatically, like I said, his case is weakened and his entire moral stance is crumbled just with the simple fact that you have multiple live-in girlfriends. Just the fact that you have multiple live-in girlfriends and they're all cool and down with it, that's a problem. That's a problem. And they're all extremely young too. They're not underage, but clearly they've been living with him for a while. And they're cool with being auxiliary girlfriends. How does that even look? The dude's literally running some polygamy joint. And they're living, they stay with him. Now, originally when I had heard the whole situation, I was told and under the impression he had one 21-year-old girlfriend who he's with right now. And her stance is she defends him, and that's who he admits he's with and he's seeing right now, unabashed. I didn't know it was multiple girlfriends around that age that he has living in his house, all living with him, and he just goes from one to the other, taste testing each night. It's like, really, dude? That automatically speaks volumes about your character. That's a problem. But with that said, the girlfriend spoke on the fact that their parents were out for money. And both of them said the same thing. And then you had a few other people that also corroborated that. That's what R. Kelly himself said in his interview. Now, this is where I get annoyed. The stance automatically is, based off of the overall reputation of R. Kelly, we now swing to one side and we victimize all the people involved and we completely vilify R. Kelly as some predator who needs to be destroyed. Let me tell you this. I'm not condoning anything that he does. It's disgusting, his involvement with young women. And I definitely believe that there's some fishy stuff going on there. And I don't totally believe his story. But I definitely believe there's something up with the parents. And that this is not just a bang people over the head hoodwinking. My thing is this. What did you offer your daughter up to this dude for? What did you offer your daughters up to him? I'm still trying to figure out. What was the exchange? You know where this man lives. I keep hearing the same story and nobody's going and fact checking the situation. Now, we know the girl's lying. Well, if you have sense, you know the girl's lying. Because in the interview, one of the girls that's a living girlfriend now, just the same question that Gail asked R. Kelly, she asked the girl. She said, did you have sex when you were a minor with R. Kelly? R. Kelly said, absolutely not. She asked the girl in the interview. The girl said, no, we did not. Absolutely not. Following the rhetoric that she had been told to utter. But then she slips up in the same breath. She says that her parents lied about her age when she was 17 and said she was 18 and tried to offer her up to R. Kelly and try to use a sex tape in order to bribe him later on. And they had plans of using that. So you just admitted you were involved with a sex tape. You just admitted your parents offered you up to him at that age and lied that you're about your age at that time and that you were 17 but not 18. Right there, I don't know why no one caught that. That just spoke volumes about this whole situation. That just told about everything. You just denied that you had sex with him underage, and then you just admitted it in the next breath. That your parents bribed R. Kelly into a sex tape scenario with you, thinking that you were 18, but you were really 17. You went through with it, meaning that you were 17 when it happened. And it's like she's so stupid, she didn't even catch the fact that she just gave up the whole lie. But that just spoke volumes for every side. One, R. Kelly likes to get down with young girls. He probably got around and had some arrangement with these parents where he was under the impression that these people were not minors. And so he went through and said, you know what, in exchange for this, I'm going to hook you up, and was getting down with these girls. Maybe he found out that some of them were underage after the fact. That doesn't excuse him, but there's definitely some filth going on with the parents. All these interviews with these watery-eyed parents that are getting together or sitting in front of a camera, they're just as good performers and liars as R. Kelly. Because my thing is this, nobody's asking the question, how do we get to the offering up point? I'm a fan of music, being a musician myself. I have a daughter now. If my daughter likes a certain music or a certain artist, and I'm digging the artist or whatever, guess what? And I played with big time musicians. Even musicians I know that are somewhat prominent. It's never going to get to the point. What am I giving my daughter to the musician for? Introducing them. Excuse me, last I checked, these parents were nobodies. So who were they to be introducing their daughter to R. Kelly? In each of these cases, you hear the same scenario. These parents offer their daughters up. Nobody's asking that question. What is she, a sacrifice to Baal? What did you offer her up to be a maid and clean some of the things or babysit for R. Kelly during the week? What were they offering up their daughters for? How did we get to that point? That's one thing if you're a fan and you're at a concert and your daughter likes R. Kelly, whatever the case may be, and as parents you go up and you're like, oh man, this is cool. Can she have your autograph? That's it. I've never heard of somehow things transition to your daughter spending time with him and then going over to his house. And you as the parents, you arrange this somehow. You are laymen. You are nothing but fans. How did you get involved in an arrangement like that? Without R. Kelly and you communicating on some type of a level. There was something done there. Nobody's asking that question. You're interviewing all these parents and we're going with this pathetic storyline that they're victims. You're sitting there at home and you have a daughter. And somehow there's an arrangement that's set up and you're bringing your daughter to offer her up to R. Kelly, but with no bad intentions. You're just offering her up to be a fan, and then she just wound up at his house and she's trapped there and you don't know where his house is and you haven't seen your daughter in years and you don't know if she's okay and she's being abused along with a bunch of other women. Like, is nobody piecing this together and see that it doesn't make sense? I'm the only person that hears that and says, that's clear-cut bullcrap. Clear cut. Tell me how you get through that sequence of events. Tell me how in the world that makes sense. I'm an innocent parent that doesn't know anything with a daughter, and somehow me telling you that I offered her to R. Kelly, and no one's saying that, okay, what the heck were you doing? Or what kind of sick, twisted nonsense is this? You're offering her up to R. Kelly. We're somehow we're totally glossing over that fact and jumping to R. Kelly has these girls trapped in a house and he's torturing and abusing them. I'm not saying that the dude is not doing foul play. The parents are in on something. Clearly, if you have common sense, you can see something is going on there to get to that point. Do you know how hard it is for you to be regular? It doesn't matter how disgusting the tendencies are of a celebrity. For you to get from being on the street, mingling among commoners, and being a regular person with no contacts, and get from there to inside of a celebrity's house. Do you know how freaking hard that is? Dude, I'm a huge Jack Nicholson fan. And I'm also a New Yorker. He loves the New York sports teams. If I go to a game, I get tickets right now, I'd love to spend time with Jack Nicholson. He's my favorite actor. Do you know how hard it would be? Even though I've done things that should allow me to be put in a spot to where I should have some connections that could link me up to where I can meet him. But you know how hard it would be for me to meet him? And for me to actually visit him and have a one-on-one association of contact with him? Big a fan as I am of his? For you to get to that one-on-one point with somebody, things have to happen. You have to have connections and contacts. These are a bunch of laymen parents that are nobodies. And I don't even hear a mention of them being fans of his music or the daughters. But apparently they attended concerts or whatever. I'm trying to figure out how these laymen, mothers and fathers, how they all of a sudden wind up in a transaction where the daughters are at the house, but then denying that there's any type of business transactions that went on. So there's no business transaction, right? Okay. So then what premise was there for R. Kelly to even entertain 2 sentences with you? He is a celebrity, a multimillionaire. He is floating on clouds far above where you'll ever see. Explain how you even had a sustained conversation with him, but there was no type of a business arrangement going on. There was nothing foul going on. You just came up to him and he just sat there and shot the breeze with you and agreed to be introduced to your daughter and agreed to be introduced to your family and to have you all come over to the house. That just happened just like that, right? Come on, man. Really? I mean, that's where I have to agree with R. Kelly. Use some common sense. Use your brains. How the heck does that add up? How can you not see that? I mean, we're talking about not even a half-baked story. We're talking about full jumble of nonsense that makes no sense even from the beginning. And nobody's questioning it. Because people are so easily brainwashed. Okay, we're going to go with how we perceive this guy in the public eye. You know, that's how they do all sorts of things. Mike Tyson was a brash guy, so he's, was a surly guy who's, unintelligent, brute, but the greatest boxer of all time because he was mainstream, he was in everybody's face. Don King's this corrupt promoter who did this, that, and the third. All he did was steal people's money, and that's all he did. Whatever is the flying rhetoric, whatever is the main thing that everyone knows things by, that's it. People don't fact check. They don't put pieces together. It's too much work for their tiny brains. You could literally give a story that makes absolutely no sense, a complete series of jumbled up, made up nonsense being pushed as a story, and it will literally go over on the public if it comes from the right person. If it comes from somebody they respect, they will literally take it and eat it up. No one will ask a question. It could be filled with holes. Bottom line is, he's guilty of stuff. I don't know how the judge will see it. I can see him, if not beating the charge, I can see it being severely reduced, and that'd be fair. Because a lot of people are comparing this to the situation with Bill Cosby. And some people are comparing this to Michael Jackson, which is shocking to me. Michael Jackson had a bunch of children at his mansion. One of the most famous youths that was at his mansion regularly as a child, Macaulay Culkin, who happens to be famous, happens to be known, happens to have a voice. He clearly went on record and said, all of this is bullcrap. Mike never did anything of the sort when he had us at his mansion. He was not that kind of person. And it's true. If anything, Mike Jack was a sociopath to some extent. At least some people would define it as that. He was somebody who was trapped in the mind of a creative child. He didn't want to grow up. He had a Peter Pan kind of mind. And he wanted to constantly be around children because it made him vicariously feel like a child still. That was more so his issue. The whole rapist, he was grabbing them, sodomizing kids. Come on. The only way you eat that nonsense up is if you want to believe that. Not the same as R. Kelly. R. Kelly clearly has a sexual fetish with young chicks. So make no mistake about me defending him. I'm not defending the guy. He has a sick fetish. Don't compare him to Mike Jack or I will slap you. Don't compare him to anybody else. Of course, people compare him to Bill Cosby. Now, I can't speak too much on Bill Cosby because the thing about it is there are some similarities there because in both scenarios, you have filth going on all around. This is the problem with people. People still cling to this belief that rotten, disgusting people are a rare breed and that most people are innocent angels and you just have a few animals that lie on the outskirts of society. People continue to subscribe to that pathetic lie that at this point in time, we all know that's not true. That's just a state of denial. Just like, oh, Donald Trump got in office. He doesn't represent anybody at all. We don't know how he got there. No, he got there because he represents most people. If you grab people in candid conversation, I'm not talking about his specific views on things, his general overall personality is what got him in. Most people are like him, are loose, do what they want, morally debased individuals. We live in this world where everybody's still in denial. What Donald Trump is, all he is he's a mirror. He's showing people the ugly reflection that they try to run away from every morning after they walk out of their house. He's throwing their reflection back in their face, the reflection that they try to forget. That's all he is. He's not some outlandish, otherworldly creature. I'm not saying that he's a good person, but he's not some otherworldly creature. He's not some weird anomaly. R. Kelly's not some weird anomaly. These parents aren't some angelic creatures that have been victimized and don't know what's going on, and their daughters were kidnapped and they're trapped inside of a house. Get the freak out of my face. Get out of here with that nonsense. R. Kelly's a disgusting dude, but you are all disgusting and have your hands in the pot. Whatever sick transaction, I believe it. You thought you were going to get some money. You offered your daughter. It's just like that girl said in the interview. There's some truth to what she said. I'm not saying that to some extent they aren't influenced, but there's truth to what she said. My parents are trying to offer me up and try to turn me into some type of a harlot or a hoe. They wanted money. They offered her up to R. Kelly, hoping that they could try to trap him and get some money off of offering their daughter up as like a sex toy. That's more like the truth behind this entire case involving all these women. R. Kelly's wrong in his actions. He may not be totally oblivious to, as far as age is concerned, with all the people involved. But there was definitely a split down the middle. He's going about doing this, saying, you know, I'm just get down like this. This is what I like. And these people are bringing it to me. Think about it. What other reason would he have to talk to these people? It kind of tells on itself. If they're not offering their daughter up, which is what these people were doing, offering her up as a sexual sacrifice in order to try to get some type of monetary compensation from R. Kelly, that's pretty much what these negotiations were all about. A bunch of parents and family members offering up women, offering up little girls to R. Kelly, knowing that he has a fetish, in hopes of gathering some money from him. That's exactly what you have going on. What other reason would... Look at these pathetic, completely unknown people talking about relationships they have with R. Kelly. What reason would R. Kelly have to talk to you unless you were offering him something that got his attention? Were you buddies and friends? Or you all happen to you went to the same school as him or something? You grew up in the same hometown? Come on. That's like everybody on this street that I live on. All of a sudden, we wake up tomorrow morning and all of their daughters disappeared. And 50 Cent has them all at his mansion. And then there's a huge outrage. And then years go by. And then all of a sudden, everybody on the street slowly comes out and says, yeah, there was a concert that 50 Cent held in 2019, around May or June. And, I went there. I connected with 50 Cent. And, I showed him my daughter. He took a liking to her. We let her spend some time with him. And, and next thing you know, she's over there all the time and we haven't seen her. Are you serious? If I said some nonsense like that, if everybody living on the street says some bullcrap like that, you'd really buy that. You wouldn't see that there's some huge loopholes there. Like, okay, let's take a couple steps back. How did you go to a concert? How did you have contact with this celebrity to where you can just freely walk around them and you could just connect with them and pull them aside for a conversation? The guy has a complete tour group. He has a manager that shields him from the public. There's a whole bunch of red tape to get through, even to get an audience with a celebrity like R. Kelly. But all these regular parents that happen to have daughters magically were able to step past that red tape and talk with him just like he was one of their kinfolk. Like he's a pal of mine. Yeah. Me and R. Kelly, we were talking, we were chilling, and I showed him my daughter. What? Not Gail, not any reporter has said, let's take a couple steps back. How did we get there? How did we get there? The only way you get there is when some transaction was offered. You sent some word to him through somebody, meaning you knew somebody, and you sent word to him, I'm offering this up, you pay up, and it's going to be all right. That's what happened. They use their freaking daughters as harlots. And nobody seems to be putting that together. And it's disgusting. That's why I don't really sympathize too much. I mean, it's what you have to understand. There are monsters. And yeah, R. Kelly may very well be a monster. But he is not alone. Almost everybody involved in this joint, they're monsters. If there's any innocent parties, it's the girls to some extent. Because when you're young, you're impressionable, yada, yada, yada. But this is not the nonsense. Like knock it off. I'll be very interested to see how this case breaks, but we'll see. Anyway, I had to just let that out because I'm really, really sick and tired of hearing this. And on to the next one. Next episode of Jokatech podcast. I'll be talking about something else. Later.
Do you know the effects of the force? Provides flying through the roof, ripping up a course better than your last thoughts. You'll understand when it's over why you dug a dark tunnel with gold over his shoulder. Maybe it's by a kiss, maybe it's by a hug or a touch, amplified by the force of a shove. 1,000 times over to the zenith of your ceiling. By my neighbor, my stance, you know I'm healing and killing. My story was about a villain, contrary to the proper definition, and the jewels are spilling. I'm flipping over, elevating the clan. I make peace under times of oppression. I was more than man. You want the gift? You be keeping me stressed. I'm ruthless. Give it to him like my name is X. The boy defined by the heart in his chest. The technique I define on my own like the words of my breath.